Welcome back to the Heartwork Hub podcast, where we learn and grow together. I am excited to keep this podcast series going and bring on new guests to bring different perspectives just about life and what makes them happy, and just talk about whatever makes our hearts happy today. So, I am going to introduce my guest today, who is Leslie, and I am going to kick it off now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, or tell the audience, since I know you a little
Hi.
bit?
Thank you for having me, Tracy. My name's Leslie. I have a 5-year-old daughter, Tessa, and a husband, Mason. Um,
Oh,
Tessa
wow.
started kindergarten this year. I don't
I
know when the
can't
last
believe it.
time I saw her,
I saw
but
her when she was like 2 maybe, so it's been a while.
yeah, she's so much fun, and it's exciting seeing things through her eyes.
Oh,
So she loves crafting and dressing up, and she makes me dress up. So I have to have some costumes in my closet because I have to join in on the fun a lot. But I
that's
currently work
nice.
in the airline industry. I'm rather new to my position. I'm a quality assurance performance analyst. So that's exciting. And I'm still learning all the ins and outs of the airline industry because my original background was in medical insurance. So it's been a huge adjustment, but it's super exciting. And I actually love what I do now, which I can't say I did that before. So it's really good right now for me.
That's
Um,
great. It's so nice to love what you do, and I'm sure being able to travel is a pretty nice benefit of working for an
yeah,
airline.
yeah. So I've only used my benefits. We went to Florida so so far, but as Tessa gets bigger, we're hoping to travel more. We really want to go to Ireland, and I asked Tessa yesterday if she can go anywhere she wanted to go. Where would she want to go? And she said Texas. She's really into like cowboys and cowgirls lately. So
Okay, alright.
so I thought that was interesting, and she does a really good Southern accent. So we'll be ready.
Well, yeah, I guess you'll have to get to Texas pretty soon. Well, awesome. It's great to hear a little bit about what you're doing. And so this podcast is all about getting to know you as a person, not just necessarily what you do, because our identity is so much more than that. So, could you share with us one thing or several things maybe that you are passionate about?
So lately, I'm passionate about just enjoying life. I've realized, kind of like with my new job, how much I wasn't being fulfilled before. I think my work life balance is a lot better now, and I have a lot more freedom. Um, and sometimes I feel like we're rushing to do everything,
Mhm.
and we never just get to enjoy life. So that's what I'm like focusing on now, is just like being happy. And being happy can entail a bunch of things. So part of that is also, you know, making sure that the time I spend is spent with people that make me happy and keep us
Yeah.
uplifted and are on the same trajectory as us and just want good things.
I love that. Yeah, I think that it can be difficult too when we're in this place of growing as a person, but people around us are not. And we have to think about, sometimes it's sad to let things go, but we have to let things kind of take their natural course as we evolve into whatever's next for us. And
Mhm.
that work-life balance thing, trust me, living in Norway the past 2 years, it is much, much more valued there than it is in the United States. So I'm glad that you are getting to experience that and being passionate about life again. It's
Right?
important.
I know, I was
So,
so jealous that you got to go over there, Tracy. I was like, oh, that was wild. I need
yeah.
experience that a lot of people don't get. And so it's good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate that I had that. It definitely changed my perspective, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast and just chat with people and talk with people about life, and their experiences. So, yeah, on that, the third question I like to ask guests is what makes your heart happy? So it might be similar to what you're passionate about, but it might be something very specific. For example, I've had people talk about helping others. I've had people talk about like reading books. So what makes your heart
So,
happy?
it's a hard question because I feel like now my life has become a lot more carefree. And part of it is with like self growth and things like that. But right now, I think the biggest thing that makes my heart happy is just seeing my daughter happy. And
Yeah.
part of that is she just wants to spend time with like myself and my husband. So it's so crazy that she started kindergarten, and so for the entirety of the day she's there, and we only get like 3 hours at night together, which is like sad when you think about it. But I try to just focus on her during those 3 hours. So we'll have dinner and we'll play games, we'll do crafts, and I'm planning on like next year having a lot more time off. So I bought some extra time off in my job, so that way we can travel more, and that's what makes my heart happy is like seeing her happy, um, and getting her to experience things and making sure that she's well rounded and confident, and that she's her own being.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah, I mean, that's such a really important age, and it is so true, like, when you think about how long kids spend in school, they're there so many hours of the day. So my last question is, how do you practice self-care? Because that looks different for everybody, and, busy people tend to neglect themselves, and so what are some things that you do or advice that you would give others if they're looking to practice self-care?
So for me, even though I love my daughter and I love my husband, sometimes the best thing is to get space from people. So like usually 1 or 2 nights a week, me and my husband will switch off and we'll get to like do whatever we want. So whether that's catching up with a friend or even just going somewhere in the house and just hiding out and reading or doing a craft, that's that's my like go-to self-care. I'm big into like reading and yeah, and catching up on things that I haven't been able to do. So I used to be big into like art and making things and crafting. So like now I'm starting to get back into that. But also self care, I've also been doing as like a whole for me and my family is there's like a lot of outside stressors that sometimes can like affect me and stuff. I do have really bad anxiety, and I've realized that a lot of that is from certain people in my life that that sometimes cause it. So it's also self care to me is also for me setting boundaries with people, and not
Mhm.
necessarily cutting them out, but just making it clear that we won't always be able to see each other if they can't stay with my trajectory of wanting a positive life.
Yeah, I think that boundaries piece can be really difficult, but it is a crucial part of self-care as we start to realize like what we need and how we can still practice care and empathy for the people that we love, but also recognize that sometimes we need to put up that boundary or we need to take a step back. And that can be a really, really difficult thing to do, but sometimes it's necessary to put that boundary in place.
Mm.
Yeah. So I get that. And it's nice to be alone too. I definitely am much more introverted than I used to be before the pandemic. I think maybe a lot of us shifted a bit during that experience. I do value that time alone to reflect and just kind of be away from people much more than I used to. I used to crave being around people all the time, and now I just really do like spending time by myself.
It's wild because like a lot of people think that I'm like what is it, an extrovert. Like, cause like I do like being around people and I like having fun with groups and stuff like that. But like deep down, there are some times where it's just like I just want to be alone. Like I just and it's funny. So I guess I'm like an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert. I'm definitely one of those because I do like because I have a lot of friends of mine that are like introverts, and they're like, well, you seem very extroverted, and I'm like, part of it is definitely because of Tessa. Like
Mhm.
having um you know a, a child just makes it so like I have to be extroverted for her, so that way she's social and she gets to, because I do feel like that it's very important to be involved and stuff, and I think doors open the more involved you are. So it's kind of like what's odd is that since COVID I feel like I've grown more outwards
Mm.
than inwards for me. And I don't know why that is. I feel like during that time of COVID, it no, we were very lucky because it didn't really affect us that harshly. So knock on wood, like it didn't, because I was remote during that time, and my husband worked in the back end of Lowe's, so he still went to work. They were still open, Um, but it actually made me more I had a lot more time to think about what I wanted out of life. And I feel like I used that time to to learn more things, and yeah, it just made me more, I don't know, it made me, for some reason, oddly, it made me less scared of stuff, because
Mm,
I was like, anything can happen. So now's the time. It made me really appreciate the time, and my life. So I feel like yeah, I grew from it, like and I grew outwards more, which is still good, but I do miss, like, I feel like now we're so busy, and I'm just like planning, 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 and getting involved in all these, like, outside extroverted situations. But then when I come home, I do sometimes feel like exhausted, like mentally, like not
mhm.
just physically, but like mentally, and like, so it is very important that we have alone time, I think, because I think that's also when we can like think about things and reflect, and I think sometimes we grow when we're alone too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's great points, and it's just interesting to see, like, how that time affected us all differently,
Mhm.
but it was a period of reflection, and I think going back to this, like, busyness thing again, maybe isn't the answer, so trying to figure out how to still take those times to reflect, whatever that might look like for us. Um, yeah, but thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really great chatting with you and getting to hear a little bit about you and your life and your perspective on things. And I just hope that I can have you back on a future episode.
Definitely. Thank you, Tracy.
All right, have a great day. Thank you for watching this episode of the Heartwork Hub podcast. We'll see you next time.